All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful story. It's about a 6-ton elephant, a tiny little rope, and, well, the invisible walls that hold so many of us back.
So, let me set the scene for you. There's this guy, Arun, who's totally burnt out from city life. He visits an animal sanctuary and sees something that just doesn't add up. He finds this enormous elephant, Bindi, tied by this flimsy-looking rope to a small wooden stake. And she's worn a perfect circle into the ground around her, a boundary she just never, ever crosses, even though you can see there's greener grass just outside her reach.
And this is the central mystery, right? Arun points this out to Mira, the senior keeper, and she hits him with this incredible line. Bindi is physically strong enough to be free, but her mind is completely captive. It's a puzzle Arun feels this deep need to solve because, he kind of recognizes that feeling in himself.
So you gotta ask, how on earth does an animal this powerful learn a limitation that profound? How does an experience, when you repeat it enough times, become an unshakable rule? Okay, let's get into it.
Well, Mira explains that it's not just one rope holding Bindi back. There are actually two. One is the physical rope made of hemp you can see on her ankle. But the second one, the one that's really holding her, is just a memory. It's the ghost of a heavy chain they used when she was just a baby and too weak to break it. And that invisible rope, it's now way, way stronger than any real one.
So this experience, right, it's basically become an unwritten law for her. The physical rope is almost beside the point now. It's just a reminder, or like Mira says, it's just punctuation. Bindi has learned the exact size of her world, and she's just stopped trying to see if it could be bigger. You could take the rope away, and that circle would still be there.
But here's the thing, and this is really the hope at the heart of the whole story. This learned rule can be unlearned. Mira knows it's possible, but it's not about big, grand gestures. It's not about giving speeches to the elephant. The process of breaking free, it starts with tiny, almost invisible steps. It literally starts with inches. And this is exactly how Mira starts that patient, careful process of unlearning. She doesn't pull or force. Instead, she takes Bindi's absolute favorite treat, a bunch of mango leaves, and places them just 10 centimeters beyond that familiar dusty line.
And what happens next is pretty amazing. Slowly but surely, things start to change. Day 1, after a lot of hesitation, Bindi takes one step, snags the leaves, and quickly backs up. And guess what? The sky doesn't fall. The next day, the basket moves a little further. By day 3, she's taking 2 steps. By day 6, 4 steps. That circle, which was once a solid wall, is starting to get a door.
But then, just when you think she's got it, a storm hits. And this is the real test. Mira decides to unhook the rope entirely. The physical restraint is gone. But Bindi, she doesn't move. The rain is coming down. The rope is just lying there in the mud. But that invisible rope is still holding her tight. Her body is free, but her mind, it's not there yet.
You know what Mira does here is it's so powerful. There's no forcing it, no begging. The choice to step out has to be Bindi's, 100%. The only job of the keeper is to create the right conditions for that choice. And then, in that critical moment, prove that the old fear of pain is, well, it's just a memory.
And then she does it. She steps. And there's no dramatic movie music, nothing like that. It's just this quiet but absolutely massive victory. She puts her foot down on that greener grass, and the world, it just fails to punish her. Her fear predicted pain, but for the first time, the pain didn't show up.
And as Arun watches this whole thing unfold, it's like a light bulb just goes off in his head. He sees the elephant's rope, and he connects it right back to his own life, to that drawer full of ideas he never started, to all the projects he gave up on. This question just hits him like a ton of bricks. It changes everything.
Okay, so this story, it's more than just a nice little parable. It actually illustrates a very real and well-studied psychological concept, and it's something that affects all of us, whether we're elephants or entrepreneurs.
It's a concept psychologists call learned helplessness. It's what happens when we go through something where our actions don't seem to matter, over and over again. We start to generalize that feeling of powerlessness, and we internalize this belief that nothing I do matters, so we stop trying, even when the situation completely changes and we do have control again.
So the story gives us this really clear roadmap, right? First, you've got the myth, the story like the elephant and the rope that makes this abstract feeling feel real and understandable. Then you have the mechanism, the science of learned helplessness that explains why it happens. And finally, you've got the practice, the small, concrete actions that actually create change.
Now, this last one is the most important part, so let's see what it looks like in real life.
All right, this is where we take it from a story about an elephant and make it about us. This is the practice part. Inspired by Bindi, Arun starts applying this whole lesson to his own work. He actually takes the time to sit down and identify his own invisible ropes.
So he gets out his notebook and starts writing down all these unwritten rules at his job, the things he just assumes are impossible, all the "we can't" statements he just accepts as fact. We can't charge for this, clients will never pay. We can't ask for quiet time, people will think we're lazy. Sound familiar to anyone?
But here's the brilliant part. He doesn't try to start a revolution at his office. He takes a page right out of Mira's book. He designs these small, reversible, safe-to-fail experiments to just test if those old rules are even true anymore. So for "we can't charge for discovery," he designs a little 2-week pilot with one friendly client. For "we can't have quiet hours," he proposes a 1-hour, totally optional library hour.
And this really gets to the heart of it all, this core idea that both Mira and Arun land on. So often, we are our own strictest gatekeepers. We are the ones enforcing these imaginary rules, walking around the edge of a circle that nobody else is even watching.
So the big takeaway, the thing to really let sink in is this. Having the strength or the talent or the resources to break free, that's not enough. We also have to give ourselves the permission to try. Some locks are just made of memory, and they only open when we give ourselves these tiny, repeated yeses. So how can you do this? Well, here's a super simple but really powerful framework you can try out this week. First, identify your rope. Write down 3 of those "I can't" or "we can't" sentences that run your life. Second, design a tiny 1-week test for just one of them. Make it reversible, make it small. And third, declare it. Tell one person who's going to be your Mira, the person cheering you on from the sidelines. And we'll leave you with that question to chew on. What is the one tiny, invisible rule that governs your work, your life, or your creativity that you could choose to question this week? It doesn't have to be a revolution. Remember, it can all start with just 10 centimeters.